Shamaya, you did it.
STL Music.
Is that good? Welcome back to the show. Yo, listen up, we back in the game. Sweet believe we got the flame. Motivated to the fullest every single day. We wake up, get it in every way. Right to the 222 and the global inspiration. Talk this sports and top news, no hesitation. Sweet the league is back. We always coming back, that's a fact. Wanna tell them that STL Music, mama, we did it, where we at? Coach Jill in the house with the flow so tight. Every rubber rocks, that's we unite. Yeah, the best show, Monday through Friday. If this ain't different, they lying. We got the energy. When I say sweep, you say the league. Sweep the league, sweep the league, sweep the league, sweep the league. San Antonio, let's go. Sweep the league. Sweep the league. Sweep the league. San Antonio.
Enjoying Sweep the League TV? Don't keep it to yourself. Share with friends and let them join the fun.
Hi, it's Shirley.
All right, well, I'm just gonna get the intro music here because for whatever reason it didn't play. Let's try it again. Yeah, it looks like StreamYard's acting up a little bit tonight, but no worries about it. We all know we have the Iceman drop and also Cheryl Lynn with the drop as well. But nonetheless, welcome to a Tuesday night delight edition of Sweep the League. Rudy Campos Jr. going to be joined by Hall of Famer Derek Gervin. We'll see if Coach Gio will make an appearance tonight or if he's using his PTO. But nonetheless, it's going to be myself and Hall of Famer Derek Gervin. We're going to go for just about an hour tonight. So, again, it's not going to be a very long show. We got a lot to get into. So, let's bring him on right now. Hall of Famer Derek Gervin. Derek, how you doing, man?
Hey, another day above ground and another day closer to October the 18th. So, all is well, my friend.
Yeah, it's getting closer, man. Closer, man. That's awesome. That's going to be an awesome weekend for you. I cannot wait for that. And also, we should be going to the UTSA game finally this Saturday. We should be there in force covering the UTSA game here coming up this Saturday. But we didn't get to talk to you yesterday, man. How'd you enjoy this football weekend?
It was good, man. I don't like some of these. It's too many penalties, to be honest with you. I know people are trying to grow their brand, man, but we'll talk about that another day. But
yeah,
a lot of senseless penalties. Even the game last night, you look at the 15-yard penalty. Those are the things that come back to haunt you as the season goes on. So hopefully these guys will get a hold on that. I know they're young and whatever, but you have to do what's best for the team.
Yeah, we'll get into that. More than likely, we'll get into it tomorrow or Thursday when it comes to that, because there's a lot of senseless penalties going on. There's a lot of just a lot of bad attitudes and we can say all the way from pro level down to the collegiate level in football. We gotta wrap our head around that, man. It's not a good look for any league out there. But nonetheless, they had a game last night, and it was a game that I think we all picked Philadelphia to win, and for whatever reason, the Falcons decided to come to play the last couple of minutes of the game. Kirk Cousins, Mr. How do you like that? Appeared last night, touchdown pass to Drake London to beat the Philadelphia Eagles 22-21, man. So, again, is it me, Derek, or has this NFL season, first 2 weeks, it's just been kind of weird, hasn't it?
It looks like the scoring, the quarterbacks look like they've been struggling. I don't know if it's the defense has gotten that good or is the offense that bad, man. If you look at it, I think at this time last year, there were over 100 touchdowns, passing touchdowns. Yeah. And so far this year, I believe it's like 66. So it's I don't know which one it is, but it's been interesting. Been a lot of low-scoring games, man. And that kind of surprises me with the new rules. A lot of these low-scoring games.
Get into the power rankings with Hall of Famer Derek Gervin. Appreciate Jacob Eric. He's in the building. Tim Gonzalez always in the building. Appreciate you guys joining in. Let's see. What did y'all take on Spurs players wearing Texas gear except KJ wearing UTSA gear? We'll get to that here in just a little bit with Derek Urban, see his thoughts on that. But want to get into the power rankings that just came out based off of Ali. StreamYard is really not working with me tonight. That is for sure. There it goes. Okay. I'm gonna have to write StreamYard and be like, what are we doing here, guys? What are we doing here? Okay. Power rankings coming out from PFT, Pro Football Talk, and this is how they rank them. Again, this isn't anybody else's rankings but theirs. Number 1, Chiefs, Bills, Buccaneers, Lions, Texans, 49ers, Steelers, Eagles, Packers, and Saints to round out the top 10. You know, I the Chiefs are they're struggling, but I guess you can leave them at number 1. To me, the clear dominant teams so far in the season going into week 3, I like the way the Texans have been playing. Texans have been playing good. The Lions kind of had a trip-up game this past weekend. The Saints have actually, and I know it's against the Panthers. Gio and I talked about that the other day, actually yesterday, and I know it's against the Panthers, but, I mean, they just continued on the Dallas Cowboys in week 2, and I think they've got Philadelphia coming up. The Saints are a team that all three of us couldn't pinpoint in the offseason. They were either going to be really, really good or really, really bad. And I think we're seeing the really, really good part. I mean, hell, you've got people talking about Derek Carr after week 2 as the best player in football right now.
Hey, Rudy, but I'm looking at this list and I'm trying to figure out. The Chiefs I can understand because they're the defending champions, right? But Bills, who had to fight to come back from behind in week 1, they don't look like a number 2 team to me. My Detroit Lions certainly do not look like the number 4 team to me currently. Exactly. And I'm looking at this list, man. I don't think the Lions or the Bills should be over the Texans or the Saints right now, and I'm just confused because they don't look that good. And I'm speaking as a Detroiter. I told you I expect the Lions to win the Super Bowl. You picked them as well. Yeah. Right now, I know it's early, but they don't look championship caliber right now. So they got to turn it around quickly. And the same with the Bills. I know they got Josh Allen, but still, they haven't looked great. And so I guess you would put the Chiefs up there. And then the 49ers are a team I'll never count out. I know McCaffrey's been hurt, but still, they got so many weapons. I think Debo might be out for a few weeks.
Yeah, Debo, I think going into I don't know if he's on the IR yet, but he is going to be out for a few weeks. So you add that to the McCaffrey injury, and it's kind of devastating in a way for the 49ers.
What about the Eagles? I know they blew it. Okay, tell me this. If Saquon makes that catch, does he go in the end zone?
I think he does.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, smart football tells you to get the first and go down, to let the time run out. That's smart football. We've seen that from many running backs in the past, but I think Saquon does go in for the touchdown there. I could be wrong. I mean, but I would say, yeah, I definitely guess, because if he does, what is that? We're at 18. Touchdown puts him at 25. It pretty much puts the game out of reach, doesn't it?
Yeah, and usually when a player takes the blame, the level of Saquon Barkley, your coach usually steps up and takes that pressure off of that player. But if you notice, Sirianni didn't do that, so I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I got to be honest, man. I'm not really sold on Jalen Hurts still. I think he makes a lot of bad decisions. It seems that he's better when he's running the ball. And then when he's throwing the ball, it kind of reminds me a little bit of a Lamar. I don't know, are they better running backs than they are quarterbacks? And sometimes when you see the game in the heat of battle, if you make him get outside the pocket and he throws the ball, they don't get good results. And you see they've blown 4 leads in the last since last season in the last 2 minutes. That's never a good sign.
No, it's not. And it's funny because remember, Gio and I, and including you, in the offseason for the Eagles, we didn't know what to expect. We figured this team would be in shambles because AJ Brown's going to want the ball. Devontae Smith's going to want the ball. You still got to feed Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts, is he going to vulture some touchdowns from Saquon because of the tush push? I mean, I really look at the Eagles team and I'm thinking this can't be the best team in the NFC East, at least not right now. I don't see them that. And as we talk about it, I think Washington is obviously the number one team in the NFC East. You know, they're 1-1 along with the Cowboys and Eagles, but Washington is, number one in the East right now based off of all tiebreakers. And
they get 7 field goals.
Yeah.
So it's funny, man. We've seen Chicago last week, 6 field goals.
Yeah.
And they win. And this time we see the Commanders, 7 field goals. Well, you asked about what did I see so far. It's been a weird season, like you said.
It's been a real weird season. And, going off the rankings, I know it's week 2, but again, when we go to every week, we're going to bring up the rankings on a Tuesday night, and we're going to go over how PFT does the rankings and give us our thoughts on that. But seeing the Ravens at 14, okay, they're 0-2. It's funny. I get laughed out of the building when I say Jim Harbaugh is going to probably be fired at the end of the year. And I was saying that in the offseason. I wasn't waiting for the season to start. I was saying that in the offseason, that they're probably going to struggle. And if they struggle, you're going to probably see Jim Harbaugh go. They're 0-2 now. They go to Dallas and they're going to play the Cowboys. So the potential to start 0-5 for the Vikings, I mean, not for the Vikings, for the Ravens is right there. And if they go 0-5, you've got to think, Derek, that there's going to probably be some heads rolling if they go 0-5. They got to make a change somewhere because it's the Cowboys, then they play Buffalo, and then they go to Cincinnati. I mean, that's a rough patch before they get to Washington after Cincinnati, which Washington can kick, 20 field goals and beat Baltimore. So, I mean, it's not an easy stretch for the Ravens.
Are they going to have they still have yet to figure out what they're going to do as far as the Derrick Henry addition? How's that going to play out? And they don't look really great on either side of the ball, to be honest. They don't look like a team that should be in the top 14, 15 if you're going by so far early in the season. They look like a team that should be on the lower tier. I don't want to put them down with the Giants and the Panthers or whatever, but they really, if you look at how they finished last season, Lamar being the MVP, and how they come back this year, there are not many teams that can start off 0-2. And if you look at the history, that have done well. The only one I could think of is the Cincinnati Bengals, who have went 1-9 in their last 10 games at the beginning of the season. Last 5 years, they've gone 1-9. And we know they've been able to turn it around, but if you look at the history, it's not been a lot of other teams start off 0-2, 0-3 that have been able to turn it around.
16% of teams that have started 0-2 have gone on to make the playoffs. So
1 out of 6.
Yeah, definitely. There are the odds are against the Ravens on making the playoffs. Same thing for the Los Angeles Rams, a team that we had high hopes coming in for, but they're being decimated by injuries.
Obliterated.
Yeah, Puka Nacua out on IR. Cooper Kupp's going to be missing a lot of games. Their best wide receiver right now would be Demarcus Robinson, I believe. So, I mean, they're being decimated by injuries. So they're 0-2. You're looking, who else is 0-2? I mean, the Broncos, I figure they're Tennessee and Jacksonville 0-2. Baltimore, Cincinnati is 0-2. I don't understand the Cincinnati one, but I don't even know if Burrow is fully healthy. I mean, people always question. He says, "No, I'm fine." But Cincinnati just doesn't look good. And people say, "Well, I mean, the refs are on the side of the Chiefs. That interference call, it was an interference regardless. I mean, I know it's pass interference.
Clearly pass interference.
But
I'm not a Chief fan, but there was nothing to argue about. It was a boneheaded play. I know the guy. He didn't make a play on the ball. He ran. I mean, that's 10 out of 10. That's pass interference, whether it's the first quarter or it's the last minute of the game. It was clearly pass interference. And you even saw a quarterback on the other team grab his head. Once they looked at it, he knew it was pass interference. There was no argument.
No, there's no argument at all. And even at that, people say, well, the refs should have probably swallowed the whistle at that time. But, it's a bang, bang play. In real time, maybe it wasn't pass interference. I mean, you can't tell. But it was called. Now, was it called late? Sure, it probably was called late. But nonetheless, it was pass interference.
It was pass interference, clearly.
Even the Bengals haven't looked really good. And I don't know if it's because Jamar Chase wasn't there in the offseason. I don't know if Burrow's hurt. Is there anything you can think of when it comes to Cincinnati that is the reason why they're 0-2 right now?
Well, one thing is if you look at Jamar's attitude, that's not exactly a positive as we move forward.
Yeah.
And so him over there throwing his little tantrums and stuff, I mean, that's what I'm saying about stupid penalties, man. You see Joe Burrow try to pull him back, and he's still going to go at the referee and get. And they were very fortunate on that play because you get a 15-yard penalty unnecessarily because you can't control yourself. And when you looked at the tackle, it wasn't a bad tackle. I know he felt that it was an illegal tackle, but when they kept showing the replay, it looked like a good tackle. And even if it wasn't, you have to control yourself and know at what point you are in the game. And you can't self-destruct, especially when your team is already struggling.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
He wants that money. You know what it is.
Well, yeah, he wants the money, but you're not going to get the money, man. The funny thing is, can the Bengals bounce back? Probably. But out of all the teams 0-2, like I mentioned, it's the Ravens, it's the Bengals, it's the Jaguars, the Colts. I mean, hell, the Texans have a 2-game lead after week 2 already. I mean, every team in that division is 0-2 with the exception of a 2-0 Texans. The Broncos, the Giants, the Panthers. I mean, the obvious teams, but the ones that we figured were going to be competitive. The Rams, the Ravens, the Bengals, even the Colts. We'll throw the Colts in there. Which one of those teams do you think could bounce back and get back into contention? Even though it's still early, they're all in contention. There's no doubt about that. But again, at 16% getting into the playoffs, which one of these teams do you think can actually make it happen?
If Burrow is, let's say if he gets healthy, because I know that he was shaking the hand last week. And so it seemed like every week is something. But I have to go by you said 16%. And it already said the one team out of 10 games the last 5 years who's been the only one been able to turn it around. It's been the Cincinnati Bengals. So I would say with Cleveland not looking great like a lot of people might have thought, they look good on the defensive side of the ball. But notice I said good, not great. And then Deshaun Watson right now, who's on the lower tier, the lower end of the spectrum, I'll say, as a quarterback right now. That only helps Cincinnati. So for me, it will still be Cincinnati. But Rudy, some of these teams you just asked me about, do you even have them, honestly, all of those teams, do they even look better than the Bears?
I mean, they look better than the Bears, majority of them, they do.
I mean, I'm not counting about Caleb overthrowing receivers by 25, 30 yards. As a team, do the Bears look like a team that can turn it around?
That's a tough question because my heart and my mind say no. They can't turn it around unless they make a change at quarterback. But my gut tells me this. If you're in the video room, you're showing Caleb the first quarter of this Houston game because I think I sent it the text message in the chat. It said he's looking good now because they kept it simple for him.
Yeah.
And when they keep it simple for him and they make it elementary, they look good. They really do.
Is he going to learn that he's not in college now? When you're going towards that sideline, you're going to get hit. Is he going to learn that? They're not going to be moving to the side like they did in college. I even heard Shannon Sharp talking about that. And that's a big deal. Because he's going to have to learn a lot about the NFL game. And I think going into the game, and I'm going to be honest, Rudy, when I first got on my way to the NBA, when I came out of UTSA, I felt that I was already there. Okay? So I'm just going strictly off my talent, not going off how I have to incorporate my talent into a new league where they're bigger, faster, and stronger. And that's what it looks like Caleb has not adjusted to yet. He had one perception of how the NFL was going to go, and it's not going the way that he planned for it to go. So we know what kind of guy he is. He's a very high-strung guy, a very cocky guy. Is he going to be willing? Is he going to be able, not willing, will he be able to make the adjustment and to bring his team up, lift his team up? Or will he start to pout and falter and end up being the next Bryce Young, the next guy who gets benched?
Oh, man. You know, again, if the coaching staff keeps it simple, the Bears can make some noise. But I mean, you saw the frustration with DJ Moore. You saw the frustration with a lot of the offensive weapons that they have, and I mean, you pointed it. It's Caleb Williams. You're overthrowing receivers. He can't even make a simple sideline pass.
He's overthrown by 20.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to laugh, but I mean, he's overthrowing guys where they look at it, they like, what the hell is that? and sometimes he's not even pressured. That's the scary part. Okay, Now I can understand when he's being pressured, but he's had time to sit back in the pocket, and he's still, he's really overthrowing guys. It's not even close. He's throwing the ball out of bounds. And that's what I wonder about, man. Is the game going to start to slow down to him at some point? Or, at some point, the other guys start turning their backs on you, especially when they know you're the cash cow and you continue to get catered to, even though you're not stepping up to the plate. You know how that game could be, man. Guys really sensitive when it comes. Yeah, everybody trying to build their brand, and they're not trying to wait on Caleb. So hopefully he'll have a good attitude. Hopefully he's had one so far, and he'll keep a good attitude. But he's got to change things around. And I think if he changes things around, it changes the team, the dynamics of the team. And if it doesn't happen in the next 2 weeks, guess what should happen? Bryce Young, number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, it's so weird because he goes back to, well, we've been saying you keep Justin Fields at least for a year. If he's not going to be your future quarterback after a year, no problem. But you want to at least keep Justin Fields. Let Caleb learn a year at least. Have him hold that clipboard. Why? You've only got one quarterback behind Caleb Williams, and that's Tyson Bagent. Now, I mean, you don't want to bench Caleb Williams for Tyson Bagent, but it almost goes like to Florida State in college. I mean, at what point are you sitting there thinking, I have one of the better teams in the country? I have a quarterback that we brought in who was one of the better quarterbacks in the country. But at what point does Mike Norvell look and say, I'm coaching for my job here? I'm sitting at 0-3. The Bears could be sitting at 0-3. Caleb is averaging 133 yards total on an average. I think he went, 93 and then 230 something, 240 something in this past game. So 133 average on passing. I think he has like the 30th or the 29th quarterback rating at 55. I mean, I get it. People are crazy, going crazy at me because, well, he's just a rookie. I get it.
He's a rookie, but if you really look at his college career, didn't he kind of go backwards?
Yes.
They kept anointing him, but he played better earlier in his career, sophomore. The last 2 years, to me, he wasn't great, if we're being honest about it.
No, he wasn't.
I know he's a very heralded player, but if you look at his actual production, he didn't play that great. I know they would beat Colorado on national TV and whatever, and people wanted to make it Caleb versus Shedeur, but Caleb didn't play that great, and he had a lot of games even then where he was overthrowing people, and it got to the point where his frustration showed. If you remember, he was crying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's the kind of guy I want leading my team, to be honest.
It's not, dude. It really is not. I don't. Yeah, I'll say this. I'll give Gio the benefit of the doubt when he tells me it's only been 2 weeks. He's a rookie. I'm hearing all that stuff, but I was screaming it in the offseason. You don't want to draft him number 1. If you draft him number 1, cool. Have a quarterback in place already. This is a guy that needs to sit. He needs to learn. He needs to understand the system. Perfect example. He was about to get sacked. He got away from the sack. He's on the run. He makes a throw. That throw in college, more than likely 90% of the time would have connected. But when you're that much faster in the NFL, come on, man. Come on. I mean,
Well,
you saw the cornerback just literally get there within seconds.
Well,
and intercept that ball.
what about when he holding the ball too long and he gets out of those sacks, but he continues to hold the ball and then he ends up getting sacked anyway? He got out of the sack about 2 or 3 times. He got away.
Yeah.
But he continued to hold the ball and he ended up getting sacked. I mean, at some point when you're out of the pocket, isn't it supposed to become automatic where you throw it away?
Yeah.
So
I mean, throw it away.
He still got a lot to learn. And I'm glad what you said about sometimes, you know, having someone already there.
Yeah.
What's my man who every team brought around? What's Mr. Yale or Harvard? What's his name? Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yeah.
Even guys like that, man. The Ryan Tannehills. Sometimes you don't want to put a lot of pressure on the guy that you're basically calling your franchise. And if you look at it, I think Atlanta thinks that Michael Penix is their franchise. But where is he right now? He's carrying the clipboard. And I don't think I think they were afraid to have Caleb Williams carrying the clipboard because they know how volatile he can be. And the guy, I guess they didn't just want to ruin him at the beginning of the year, but you can ruin him by keeping him in the games. And it's right now, it's looking like he's a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
And so you can ruin him either way. So, I mean, sometimes you got to give a guy a break. And I know they don't have a real backup quarterback. That I'll never understand. So that tells me they thought he coming in that he was getting ready to take over the NFL. And I don't know how they could even saw that. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's hard to understand that, man, because, I mean, the thing, too, is that you got to have that QB is what I was saying. And there's nothing wrong. The thing with Caleb is I guarantee you when the Bears figured we're keeping the number 1 pick, we'll trade Justin Fields. I almost guarantee they didn't want to trade Justin Fields, but probably in talking to Caleb, talking to his agents, talking, to people surrounding Caleb Williams, it was either, it's basically we're starting this year. We're not riding the bench. We're not going to hold a clipboard. We're not going to sit and learn. We want to start right away. I think they forced the Bears' hand in trading Justin Fields and let Caleb, okay, you are going to go ahead and start this season. And it kind of proves my point because you only have one backup quarterback to go. That's it. So if I was being held hostage by like the Bears are, I would, be like, okay, well, yeah, you can have the starting quarterback, but I'd at least go get me a real veteran. I mean, you still have a Ryan Tannehill out there. I mean, there's still veterans out there that you could have got to back up Caleb if it doesn't work out.
Isn't Taysom Hill still playing?
Yeah. Well, Taysom Hill?
Yeah.
Oh, he's in New Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And because you said another guy, if it didn't work with Derek Carr, who did you say they should go to?
Well, they've got Jake Herner and Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
Rattler, I did apologize yesterday to Derek Carr for that. Rattler. I was telling Rattler should be number 1, but I'm going to apologize to Derek Carr publicly again for that.
But what about Hill as a starting quarterback?
It won't work.
In today's type of game, you don't think it would?
No, I don't think in today's type of game it won't. It'd be a lot of.
Could it be worse than Caleb right now?
Well,
Caleb now is down. Him and Bryce Young, and I'm gonna give Bo Nix a pass. Right now, Bryce Young and Caleb are the worst. They're the worst quarterbacks in the league. Daniel Jones has kind of separated himself.
That Gio probably be upset because Daniel Jones is not the worst quarterback in the league right now. He's probably he has separated himself, and I agree. I mean, hell, honestly, Derek, I would probably put Trevor Lawrence as the 3rd worst quarterback in the NFL right now.
No argument here.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence has been just horrible. Christopher Laheim says under contract, late to the party. Saints at 10 is hell disrespectful. Eagles ahead of them. Packers. Yeah, that's what I was going to get into next. Was the last part of the NFL rankings that we'll go before we go to commercial break, and then we go to some NBA talk that came out today. The Saints at number 10. To me, I said it yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. The Saints and the Texans are the 2 best teams that I've seen so far in the NFL. And
Well,
to me, if you want to put the Chiefs up there, that's fine. It's Kansas City. It's Super Bowl champs. I get that. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But 2 and 3, in my honest opinion, should be the Texans and Saints in whatever order. They should be number 2 and 3.
what are the Saints averaging right now? Like 45 or something like that?
I believe so. If I'm not mistaken, it was like right around 45, 46.
All right, well, I'll leave it at that.
Exactly. I mean, they need to be top 3 or top 3. There's no doubt. There's no bottom 3. I mean, no.
I mean, Kamara looking like an MVP candidate early in the year.
Yeah. They're averaging right under 46 points a game. I mean, again, the Panthers, okay. The Panthers are the Panthers. They're going to get steamrolled. But the Cowboys, that's where it is. The Cowboys were talk all offseason about the defense. They know, hey, defense this, defense that. Yeah. But the Saints were in control of that game from the beginning. And they held Dallas's offense to 19 points. They've held both teams combined to 29 points. That's 14, just above under 15 points a game, while you're averaging around 46 a game. That's a huge separation. That's why, honestly, Derek, that's why I have the Texans and the Saints 1-2 in my power
They
rankings.
should be over the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs have, they've struggled. They've looked kind of bad in the first couple of games. I mean, yeah, they're 2-0, but right now it's the Texans and the Saints 1-2 in my power rankings. You have the same, or do you have somebody else that you feel you
I have the same. And if you take Chris Jones off of that defense, and I don't even have the Chiefs in the top 3. I know people want to, they the defending champions, but if you go by the eye test today, I would even have the Saints over right now. I would have them over C.J. Stroud, over the Texans. I think DeMeco Ryan has done a fantastic job for a coach. He looks like he's about 20 years old. It doesn't look like he's aging. And C.J. Stroud has made it really easy for him right now. I would have Saints 1, and I would have Texans 2, and then I would have the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think I would have the Saints 1, Texans 2, but yeah, I'm gonna go with that only because of the differential.
So I mean, man, you look at the Saints right now; they jump off the page. If you really look at the highlights and all that, they just look like, if you're just going by if you didn't know who these teams were, and you take the names off and just go by the colors of their jerseys, there's no team that's looked more impressive, and that includes the Texans.
And Shaheed is actually their main weapon right now, which is kind of scary because Chris Olave is wide receiver 1 on that team. And yet Olave, not that he struggled, it's just they haven't really had to go to Olave a whole lot, but they've gone to him in key points of the game. He's made some plays for him, but it goes back to Derek Carr, man. I've seen a revitalized Derek Carr these 2 games, and Chris Leha's in here. He was in here yesterday, and I apologize to Derek Carr. I apologize again. I was screaming, you need to start Spencer Rattler. I think Derek Carr got pissed off at me for saying that and is putting it in my face right now.
And he's tired of people still remembering David Carr. This is his time now. And
man.
That's how he's been playing. He's been playing right now. If he can keep this up, man, I mean, come on. If you look at the Saints right now, wouldn't you call them a team that's very capable of winning 12 or 13 games just off what you've seen the first 2 games?
The way they look in the first 2 games, yeah. Now, this is the stretch right here. This is the stretch.
Really, they made the Cowboys look mediocre. I mean, just mediocre.
Well, what benefits the Saints is if the Cowboys really whoop up on the Ravens. Then it's like, okay. I mean, because you might even have a pissed off Ravens team coming in to Dallas, into this Dallas game.
If the Ravens lose this next game, man, we're gonna spend 15 minutes on what happens next. And if you look at it, it's funny. One brother is 2-0, just come from Michigan, and the other one's 0-2. And a lot of people might have thought it was gonna be reversed at the beginning of the year.
It's true, man. It's true. And that one 0-2 brother, you go 0-3, 0-4, 0-5. That you need to start sounding the alarm. But this is where the Saints are going to separate themselves. we got Lehi in here, so we'll talk about the Saints here before we go to commercial because we're way behind on it. They've got the Eagles this week. They travel to Atlanta, and then they travel to Kansas City before coming back home against the Buccaneers. These 4 games are super key. If you see the Saints go 4-0 on this trip, that puts them at 6-0 for the season. But good God, that is a murderer's row for the Saints early in the season. I would be happy if they went 3-1 in these games right here. The one I could see the slip up on is probably Kansas City when they go to Arrowhead. But the way the Chiefs have been playing, Derek, I would almost have to say that I give the Saints not even a fighting chance, just a legit shot at beating the Chiefs. I mean, they look good on both sides of the ball.
Wouldn't it be something if they walked over the Chiefs, but they lose to, did you say who were the 3 teams? Then you say the Buccaneers?
It was the Eagles, Falcons, Chiefs, and then the Buccaneers.
Okay, the Buccaneers. What if they won 3 of those games and the only loss was to the Buccaneers?
You know, division games are super tough. They're like rivalry games. You throw the records out. Could it happen? I think it could be happening, but knowing that it's in the Superdome and Mike Evans is just, he's had horrific games against the Saints, especially in New Orleans. That would probably be the game, knock on wood, that I don't see them losing. My heart says lose to Atlanta. I mean, just
well, what about that quarterback in Tampa?
Well, Baker. I mean, Baker
Mayfield, man. We might be watching a Baker Mayfield resurgence.
Yeah, we could say that.
You remember one time people were talking about Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
and we know Johnny fell off, but Baker, man, you know, Baker has motivation because when he first came in the league, he was highly touted. And then look what happened. He was kind of highly touted, just like Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes it takes guys longer to, you know, they get with the right team. And if we look at the way he's playing now, Baker, the game has slowed down for him. And, you know, I was upset to see them win their last game. You know, I was really upset about that. But I think he led the team. And that's all you want from a guy. Sometimes you have to manage the game, and I thought he did that well.
Yeah, and you know, Baker's made a difference in Tampa Bay. There's no doubt about that. He's got them on a resurgence. They're going to be one of the tougher teams in the NFC. Yeah, Lehi. I was going to mention Lattimore. Lattimore. Him and Evans, man, they get into it a lot. So that's why I said
It's physical with Mike.
I don't know if I would pick against the Saints in New Orleans against the Buccaneers. I have seen that a whole lot. I got to give respect to Baker, man. He left that hellhole Cleveland and turned it around. Yeah, man. You know, yeah. I mean, he did leave that hellhole in Cleveland, but you know what? The Browns are the Browns, and they're going to be the Browns for a while. I know Tim's in here, and I'm not disrespecting Tim in any way. He wants to talk college football. Tim, I promise you on tomorrow's show, we'll get into all college football talk. We're only going to be here for an hour. We got about 20 minutes.
Okay, let me just say this then. Okay, let's go. How about those Duke Blue Devils?
He's going to give a Blue Devils a shout out there. So how about that? Yeah, the Shedeur Sanders, that's going to be for tomorrow, man. I got to get Derek's take on that one tomorrow. Memphis did beat Florida State. We did mention Florida State, Mark Norvell. You got to change quarterbacks, man. You got to make a change. You're 0-3. You're not going to make the college football playoffs. There's absolutely no way. So you may as well make a change now because now you're coaching for your job, 100% of it. This is Sweep the League. Hall of Famer Derek Irvin, Rudy Campbell Jr. Take a quick commercial break. On the way back, NBA talk. Derek, you found it disrespectful that Coach Pop is the number 14 coach behind other coaches in the league. We're going to get into those rankings.
I'll see you after the commercial. You know I got something to say about that.
And that's why we're coming back at the end of the show here. We're going to get into some NBA talk with Hall of Famer Derek Irvin, Rudy Campbell Jr. We will be right back. Are you looking for a contracting company that gets the job done right the first time? Look no further than MCS General Contracting. MCS specializes in top quality concrete work, including patios, driveways, foundations, and swimming pools. The team of experts are dedicated to delivering exceptional results and unparalleled customer satisfaction. At MCS General Contracting, they're not just hardworking, they're local. Based in San Antonio, they are committed to building relationships and trust within the community. That's why MCS guarantees your satisfaction. They pride themselves on getting the job done right the first time, every time. So why wait? Contract MCS General Contracting today to schedule your project and experience the difference for yourself. MCS General Contracting, building a better San Antonio, one project at a time. Proud sponsors of Sweep the League. All right, welcome back to Sweep the League. Rudy Campos Jr., Hall of Famer Derek Gervin. We're coming to you live from the, can we call it the Sweep the League studios, which I'm kind of expanding. I've moved my desk so you can get a whole big picture of the office in the back here. So I got to hang more stuff up. But yeah, we're going to talk some NBA talk now. Coach Joe should be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so we're probably going to go on during the afternoon. Again, the show will be replayed again at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Next segment is brought to you by MCS General Contracting, the best in the business. Contact Chris Leha and the boys to get all your general contracting needs done. That's MCS General Contracting. All right, man. I know you want this list here, so let's bring up this list here. NBA Central has it, Derek, as here's your CBS Sports top 30 coaches in the NBA right now. I have absolutely no problem. Zero problem. I've called you on many times on our talks and said, I know and I feel Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the league right now. I have him as one. I've had him for one as a long, long time. Outside of that, it gets a little muddy, doesn't it? Nick Nurse 2, Carlisle 3, Steve Kerr at 4. Not sure I agree with that. Ty Lue at 5. I'm really scratching my head. Daljanot from the Thunder at 6, Hardy, Udoka, Budenholzer. You got to go a little bit further down to number 14 to get Greg Popovich. Now, I will say this, and I will defend CBS Sports on this. Having Pop that low, I understand, is because the team has underachieved a whole lot, but they are in a transitioning phase. They're on a rebuild spot, so I get why Pop's there. They're not ranking them based off of all-time coaches or based off the best coaches in the league all time right now or anything like that. This is just going into next season. But even him having at 14, I don't know if that is disrespect or if he's right where he needs to be.
Well, you say they're not going off of last year into that, right? They're going off of, what did you say they're going off of?
I'm assuming they're going off of what's going to happen this year.
So tell me if they're going on what they assume is going to happen this year. Tell me why Joe Mazzulla wouldn't be number 1.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Mazzulla would be 1.
I like Spoelstra, but if you look at it, you got Spoelstra, and he's got a guy in his corner by the name of Pat Riley. And this is where I take away a few points from Spoelstra. If you look at their team, Rudy, what's their biggest weakness that they haven't addressed? Offensively and defensively. Isn't it the center position?
Yeah, it's a big man because I was trying to look at one side of the ball. But yeah, center position is the biggest.
So I can't put Spoelstra number 1. I have him as a top 5 coach. But I can't say that he's number 1 right now when every year Miami comes up short. And they have not addressed the center position. So you still got Bam Adebayo playing out of position. And that's been hurting their team. So until he gets Pat Riley to adjust and to go out and find a big man, they tried Dwayne Dedman. They tried several guys they tried to bring in at one time. Hassan Whiteside. Now they got Kevin Love. But as we know, Kevin Love is not the same guy he was in Minnesota or in Cleveland. Yeah. So they have not addressed that issue. And the Clippers and the Heat have come up short. So I can't say that a team that every year comes up short, their coach is the best. If you're going to penalize Greg Popovich, why is Eric Spoelstra not being penalized? That's kind of baffling for me.
Yeah, good point there. I will agree with that. That's a really good point there. Joe Mazzulla should be one. They don't really have much confidence in JJ Redick now, do they? Sitting at way at the bottom at number 30, man. But I mean, I have no expectations for JJ Redick coming in. I expect it to be in pardon my language, we don't cuss a whole lot, but I expect it to be a full on shit show in LA. No more Showtime, just a shit show in LA is what I expect.
Yeah. Rudy, what about number 4 and number 5 though?
I don't buy that.
I'm going to argue about Nick Nurse being number 2 until we see what he does with the addition of Paul George, excuse me. But
Yeah.
Rick, I think, is one of the greatest coaches. As you know, that was my assistant coach with the Nets.
Yeah.
I think Rick has everywhere he's been, he's won. He was with Indiana the first time he was winning over 50 games. When he went to the Detroit Pistons, he was winning. The only thing is Rick had an attitude. He was kind of standoffish with the players. He's corrected that. But I move to Steve Kerr. I love that Steve Kerr. The best thing that happened to Steve Kerr is he inherited a guy by the name of Steph Curry, a prime Draymond Green, and a prime Sean Livingston, Klay Thompson, those guys. But if you look at Steve Kerr, he has faltered in the last several years, and he's faltered even more since Mike Brown left and went to Sacramento.
Yeah.
I think people have been sleeping on that. I think Kerr is an overrated coach. He does not make good in-game decisions. And we still see they have not addressed their center position. Guys that still don't know, they're still not feeling comfortable. Kuminga is still not the guy that he should be at this point in his career. Moses Moody has not lived up to what the potential that he has. Now they have the young guy Poshimski, so that kind of sets a couple of other guys back. And Kerr, we're going to find out this year if he's really a top 5 coach now that Klay Thompson has moved along. So this year will tell. But right now, I don't have Steve Kerr as a top 5 coach.
Again, the list, I tried to make, sense out of nothing when it came to the list because I'm assuming it's going into the season, but you're right. I mean, with Spoelstra not accomplishing much. I mean, you look at the 76ers not accomplishing much. I mean, Carlisle, yeah, the Pacers had a good year last year. Warriors have not done anything. Clippers have been a huge disappointment. I mean, the Thunder, Mark should be up there a lot higher for what he was doing last year. You expect them to have the exact same outcome this year. Will Hardy with the Jazz up there, that's another one that I'm kind of like, why is Will Hardy
over Chris Finch?
Exactly. Chris Finch. I mean, you got to even give the benefit of the doubt to Jason Kidd. I mean, he got the Mavs to the finals, but even he's at number 18 behind, Derek, behind Quinn Snyder with the Hawks.
I don't get him being behind a lot of. Yeah, he's behind Mike Brown. He's behind Ime Udoka. I mean, come on. How could he be behind Budenholzer?
Yeah. The team got better. I mean, with the addition of Klay Thompson, they didn't lose really anybody.
But how could he be behind Budenholzer?
I don't. That's what I'm trying to figure. I agree with one person on the list, and that's JJ Redick at 30. That's what I agree with. JJ Redick at 30. That's the only one I agree with. Now,
who was Phoenix coach last season?
Wasn't it Buden? No, it wasn't Budenholzer.
Okay, well, that's all I wanted to say. So, like I said, how could he be behind Mike Budenholzer, who has yet to even walk out on the Suns' floor?
Yeah, I don't understand it at all, man. I don't understand it at all. I mean, honestly, the one guy that I'm shooting, everything for the stars for is Charles Lee in Charlotte. I mean, he's my guy. I love Charles Lee as a coach, and I'm expecting him to do some good things in Charlotte. But yeah, the list doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't know what CBS Sports was really thinking on the list here. Nonetheless, man, we're going to get into another list here that came out, and then we're going to close the show here. Let me get this list up for you, Derek, because not only did they decide, well, let's go ahead and list the top coaches, but we're going to go ahead and drop the top 25 players in the NBA for the season coming up. And there we
Before
go.
before you pull it up, I gotta give a shout out to Frank Vogel, man. I don't want
Go
him
ahead,
to
man.
feel like he's forgotten
Oh yeah, no,
since
can't
he
forget.
was the coach of the Suns last season.
Yeah, we'll give a shout out to Frank Vogel, man. Now the CBS
Kyrie, 25.
top 25 players in the NBA. Nikola
Mm.
Jokic again. Let's reiterate something: that first top 5 players are all international players. So we're just make that very, very clear on this that the top 5 are international. But Jokic at 1, Antetokounmpo 2, Doncic 3, Shea 4, Joel Embiid 5, and then of course you got Curry, Tatum, LeBron, and Durant. Then round the top 10 was Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards. I I mean, it's hard to rank the top 25 players. Could one guy be higher than the other? Probably so. I think I would probably put Luca ahead of Giannis just for
Yeah,
me.
at this point, so would I.
I would probably put Shea over Giannis. I would probably drop Giannis a few spots in this list. Outside of that, I don't necessarily have LeBron at 8.
I don't either. You have him lower than that, don't you?
I do have him lower.
So
In
do I.
fact,
I don't have him over Anthony Davis at this point.
I was gonna say the Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis should be a higher than LeBron because the Lakers are gonna go as far as Anthony Davis goes. So I look at that as okay. Anthony Davis is the better of the two. He needs to be
Rudy,
ranked higher.
I'm gonna say this, and I might upset some people, all right? And I'm
No,
not trying to, including here in San Antonio. In my mind, going by all the years I've spent around this game, Anthony Davis really was my defensive player of the year last year.
I, you have said that. You have said that.
I
There's
had
no
him
doubt.
and Wembanyama, and then Gobert.
Yeah, yeah, you have said that.
Who's more versatile than him defensively?
Between all three,
Victor's getting there because of his length.
well, it's Anthony Davis. Out of the three, Anthony
Yeah.
Davis is the more versatile.
And he can cover the pick and roll very well. He
Yeah.
can guard guys on the wing. I mean, if you look at a defensive player, he can do it all. Your best chance is to be strong, like a Zion type guy, where you could throw it down on AD. Because if you come in there with anything else, all the finger rolls and all that other stuff, he's a guy that's he alters a lot of shots, and for some reason he doesn't get a lot of publicity. I think they're still going by because he's never maybe because of what happened in New Orleans, and he didn't lift their team to the heights that people expected. Anthony Davis on this list is probably the most underrated player on this list, number
You know,
11. That's
and a lot of
crazy to
people-
me.
A lot of people go by injuries. That he really didn't have a whole lot of basketball time because he had a lot of injuries.
But
Which
he played 76 games last season.
yeah, and I mean he looked really good. He's looked all good all summer as well. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So I think he's higher on this list. One guy that we're all familiar with, Derek, is obviously Victor Wembanyama at 12. Is 12 fair for Victor?
At this point, I don't think so. If you're going by his projection, yes. But if you're going by what he's actually done in the Spurs winning, 22 games,
Yeah.
I had trouble putting him over some of these guys like a Jaylen Brown, who's the MVP. It's a few guys on here that I would put over him right now.
Yeah.
But Bam Adebayo, if you really want to be honest about it, for what he's
Yeah.
done on both ends of the floor. Bam is another one that doesn't seem to get the credit. And you look at this list, they got Bam rated under Jimmy Butler. And I don't know how that's possible when Jimmy's in and out of the lineup basically every year, and Bam's there fighting and scratching and clawing and keeping the Miami Heat relevant.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I asked you is because personally, I don't have Victor at 12. I probably have him right around that 16 range, maybe 17 range. I get it. The hype around Victor coming into the season too. I mean, you saw a tremendous rookie season, unanimous rookie of the year. Should have been defensive player of the year. If you're going by, by what the eye test said, it should have been defensive player of the year, even though you've had Anthony Davis as defensive player of the year. When it came down to it between Gobert and Victor, it probably should have gone to Victor between those two guys. But I still think Victor at 12 is a little too high for the expectations going into the year. I also look at it as how many more wins, like you mentioned, how many more wins are they going to get off of 22? Vegas has them at 35. I still can't force myself or find a way to get to 35 wins with the Spurs. I've got them at 30 right now. 30-31 is what I'm putting them at right now. An 8-9 game swing is huge for San Antonio. It's
30
huge.
and 52, 31, 51.
That's where
Yeah.
I've kind of got them at right now.
I can't argue that. Now, okay, now say that Chris Paul is able to play at least 65 games. Would you have a change? Would you change a little bit? Give him more wins or stay the same?
If he plays 65 games and Giannis has no minutes restriction and he plays, say Giannis plays the same amount, 65 games minimum, 34, 35. I would probably put him at that NBA projection.
Giannis, we know that. So
yeah, I think 34, 35 is what
34,
I would.
that's if he stays healthy.
If they both play a minimum of 65 games and are healthy, 34, 35. I don't know if I can put him at that 40 win mark. There's
Rudy, they got my guy on the list. Does he belong on the list? He's on. They got him 2 spots ahead of Paul George.
At this point, as much of a dominant player as he is, I don't have him ranked, man.
If this is regular, this is going by. Obviously, this is regular season projections, right?
Yeah, this has to be regular season.
I can't hide Kawhi, and because he just like right now, he had to leave the USA team because he's still having problems with injuries.
Yeah.
So it's kind of disrespectful when you got Kawhi not even in the lineup, and then you got guys like Donovan Mitchell behind him. I have a problem with that. Bam Adebayo, Tyrese Maxey, Kyrie, guys that have done it, that's been there in the fire. While Kawhi was sitting on the bench, these guys are playing. And Kawhi is my favorite guy on the list, him and Jokic. Yeah. But I think it's disrespectful to have Kawhi over some of these guys that have been playing every game, 75 to 80 games a season.
Well, I mean, you look 2 spots down. Paul George, he's the one that's been carrying the Clippers on his back, while Kawhi has been on the bench or injured. So, why, if you're going to rank Kawhi, at least put him behind Paul George? I mean, it makes more
Donovan
sense.
Mitchell. Hell, Donovan Mitchell.
Oh yeah.
Donovan Mitchell played like, man, he might be the most underrated. I said AD on this whole list. People just keep sleeping on Donovan Mitchell. And I'm looking for, okay, they got him number 13. What about Jalen Brunson right now? Is 13, what do you think? Is that too low?
Looking at the guys ahead of him, yeah, I think so.
Is he really even below Jason Tatum, if we're just being honest about it?
No. And that's what I'm saying. It's low for him. Looking at the guys ahead of him, I would definitely put him ahead of a few of those players. There's not a doubt about that. One guy who's going to be jumping this list a whole lot is number 16, Ja Morant. He's going to come back probably stronger than ever. And I think I truly think he's going to have a semi-MVP type of season for the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm not going to put him in the MVP talk, but I'm going to say semi-MVP. He's going to put up some pretty good MVP numbers. But I think 16 is fair for him going into the season. But when the season's over, I can easily see top 7, top 6 for Ja Morant, if we're being honest.
I can't argue. And they should be a much better team. I think Desmond Bane is going to continue to play well. Yeah. You got Marcus Smart. All these guys are getting a chance to get to know each other. And then you throw Ja into that mix. I think that's one of the teams they need to be talking about right now. That's going to be one of the most improved teams in the league.
And they got a nice twin tower look and Edey and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Zach Edey, boy, that's going to be something to see.
Yeah, he's actually in a really good spot in Memphis with that team. You know, when we were doing the draft, you and I said Memphis needs to get a big guy. Well, they got a big guy, obviously. We didn't think it would be Zach Edey, but they got a big guy, and he makes a lot more sense because he's going to clog up the paint. He's kind of that low post present. And with him and Jaren Jackson, that's going to be very tough to score in the paint with those 2 guys. So you're right. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies definitely need to be talked about. But yeah, at the end of the day, Ja Morant's going to probably be top 6 player, top 7 player in the league. So nonetheless, man, basketball season is technically right around the corner from us already. I mean, we're here in September. Training camp's already going to start to happen. We're going to start getting some games in. Yeah, sports season's already here, Derek. We're going to have World Series baseball in about a month. So it's just
Let's
it's ramping up.
Dodgers, man. I'm telling you now. Last year, I was fortunate to pick the Texas Rangers, but this year I want to see Dodgers versus that team over there called the New York Yankees, man.
Ooh, man, can you imagine that? That
would be box office. Aaron Judge against Shohei. For me, that would be the World Series. The Giants the Dodgers and the Yankees, and I think it's possible this year.
Yeah, it could be. We're gonna get into a lot of that talk, man. A lot of that talk. So tomorrow we're gonna be coming to you again, probably early tomorrow. If anything changes, again, we'll be back on Thursday to do a show as well on 9:00. But tomorrow we're shooting for an afternoon show. But again, if we do the afternoon show tomorrow, it'll be a rerun at 9 p.m. of the same show. If not, we'll probably rerun this one tomorrow night. It just depends on schedules. But nonetheless, man, NFL talk. We're going to get into some NCAA talk on the next show with Derek. Hopefully, Coach Joe will be back by then. NBA season is right around the corner. MLB playoffs around the corner. NFL and the NCAA just getting started. So for Derek Gervin, for Hall of Famer Derek Gervin, because it's almost here, Derek. Couple weeks away, then we get to see. Does UTSA give you a bust like they do in all the other Hall of Fame?
I hope they do. I hope so. Hey, Rudy, quick shout out to Asia Wilson being the first player in the WNBA history to score 1,000 points in the regular season. So I got to make sure I give her a shout out. That's big time.
Clearly MVP, right?
Yeah. Caitlin probably end up second. I wouldn't be surprised. Either Caitlin finishes second or Nafisha Collier or Breanna Stewart. We know that. But Asia, yes, is first, and Caitlin has a possibility to be finished second.
There you go. Shout out to Asia Wilson, clear-cut MVP right now for the WNBA. Their playoffs are about to get started as well. So we got a lot to talk about the rest of the week. For Hall of Famer Derek Gervin, Rudy Campos Jr., for Coach Gio, who should be back tomorrow at the Sweep League. And until we sweep the league again next time, we'll see you later, Knuckleheads.
Have a good night, everybody.
Hey there, sports fans. I'm Ashley, your go-to girl for all things sports here on Sweep the League. Welcome to our daily news reports where we'll be covering the latest updates from the NFL, NBA, WNBA, college sports, and more. We're thrilled to be a part of the rapidly growing Sweep the League network, bringing you fast and fresh news updates every day. Make sure to subscribe to Sweep the League TV on YouTube for even more in-depth analysis and discussions with our amazing team Monday through Friday. Huge thank you to our incredible sponsors in San Antonio for their support. We couldn't do it without you. So let's get started. I'm Ashley, and I'll be sweeping the league for you every day. Stay tuned for the latest sports news and updates.
Yeah, this for the family. Loyalty, respect, honor. You know what it is. STL Music. Let's get it. We the ones, never folded on ourselves, no bluffing. Legacy we building, man, this ain't up for discussion. They wanted us to quit, but we dug in deep. Motivated to the fullest, dreams ain't meant for sleep. On the grind 24/7, no time for rest. We making moves, calculated like a master chess.
Hey, it's Rain Fernandez, and you're watching Sweep the League. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and Facebook at Rain Fernandez, RAYNE Fernandez.
Shemaya, you did it.
Wendy, the king is crowned. Wendy, king is crowned. Future of the league, and he's wearing it proud. We playing justice, playing checkers, no contest. Wendy's got the game on lock, and he's making it statement. I'm talking about Wendy, the next in line. Future of the league.